My mission is clear. I'm focused.
Focused.
I'm prepared.
Prepared.
I'm ready.
I'm ready.
I've been trained by the best.
Trained by the best.
I went to Howard University.
Howard University.
That overturned
Howard University. They got like a 40% graduation rate.
legal segregation in this country. I've been taught in those classrooms where Thurgood Marshall once taught.
Where Thurgood Marshall once taught. Thurgood Marshall was once in that room, and that makes her smarter. Oh, my God. Do you miss the buffets in the cafeterias at Howard University, Letitia? Is that what happened? You found the buffet?
I'm not afraid of no president.
She's not afraid of no president.
Donald Trump, we're ready for you.
We're ready for you, Donald Trump.
Coming for you. We're standing up for you.
This is the best they have to offer.
We're fighting on. We're not going down silent.
We're not going down silent. She's got a point.
Victory, my friends, is clear. It's now. And I'm not waiting 4 years. I'm waiting 2 until a speaker by the name of Hakeem Jeffries comes to bring us.
Hakeem Jeffries, now known better as Dollar Store Obama, Timu Obama, Speaker Sombrero, Hakeem Jeffries.
Some rest. Come on, ladies. It's up to us. We saved this democracy before.
It's like every check-in counter at a Spirit Airlines you've ever seen.
Save it now. Let's go.
Letitia James, the New York Attorney General who aggressively pursued a mortgage fraud civil case against the great and powerful President Donald J. Trump, a case in which no party claimed to have been harmed or defrauded in any way by Trump, a case in which a multi-$100 million judgment against Trump was dismissed by the appellate courts, the fine against Trump effectively reduced to $0.00. Now that Letitia James finds herself federally indicted, her own self, on mortgage charges of her own. The mortgage fraud queen. And at a felony criminal level, not just the civil suit level like she brought against Trump. Now, the Democrats have come out loudly in defense of their political ally, Letitia James, but it's an odd kind of defense. It relentlessly accuses Trump of pursuing James for political revenge for her own civil case against him. But for some reason, these same defenders of Letitia James fail to ever make a substantive claim that she did not engage in mortgage fraud. It really all seems like a Star Wars Jedi Knight wave of the hand, like, this is not the mortgage fraud you are looking for kind of defense. It's a bit crazy to my eye because the evidence of mortgage fraud was certainly sufficient to convince a federal grand jury of presumably impartial participants that probable cause existed to return this federal indictment on 2 counts, felony counts of mortgage fraud. And of course, now it's going to a trial. And if you're not familiar with Letitia James and not familiar with her political pursuit of Trump, not so long ago, just about a year ago, I got a couple video clips here for everybody. December 2020, Letitia James goes on The View, brags that as soon as Trump is out of office, she's going to get him. At the same time, she didn't even know if Trump was guilty of anything. It didn't matter to her.
You also intend to prosecute him after he is out of office, correct?
Oh, yes.
But will you go ahead with the civil suit?
Yes, our civil suit will continue, whether he's president or not. And so after January 20th at 12 o'clock, our investigation will continue.
There's no way a potential pardon for Trump or his 3 eldest kids would shield them from anything you're investigating. Am I right? That's what you just said, I believe.
Correct. He cannot pardon himself. What he could do is step down and allow the Vice President Pence, to pardon him. In all likelihood, I suspect that he will pardon his family members, his children, his son-in-law.
She's not even right about that. This was not a federal case. She's a New York State Attorney General. The federal government can't pardon someone for a state-level offense, and she's too stupid to even know that.
And individuals in his administration, as well as some of his close associates. And then I suspect at some point in time, he will step down and allow the Vice President to pardon him. Now, it's important to understand he is pardoned from federal crimes, but he is not pardoned from state crimes. Last year, I introduced a bill in the state legislature which would close the pardon loophole so that individuals such
They had to change the law to try to get Trump. Isn't that amazing?
as the President of the United States would not evade justice. It's important that we have this check on presidential powers. And in the legislature, the state legislature, I'm so happy they passed that bill, and it is now the law in the state of New York.
They had to change the law. And here's her campaigning on her promise to go after Trump. Listen to her.
My mission is clear. I'm focused.
Focus.
I'm prepared.
Prepared.
I'm ready.
I'm ready.
I've been trained by the best.
Trained by the best.
Went to Howard University.
Howard University.
That overturned.
Howard University. They got like a 40% graduation rate. Maybe it's a 60% graduation rate. Roughly half their students don't graduate.
Legal segregation in this country. I've been taught in those classrooms where Thurgood Marshall once taught.
Where Thurgood Marshall once taught. Thurgood Marshall was once in that room, and that makes her smarter. Oh my God. Do you miss the buffets in the cafeterias at Howard University, Letitia? Is that what happened? You found the buffet?
I'm not afraid of no president.
She's not afraid of no president.
Donald Trump, we're ready for you.
We're ready for you, Donald Trump.
Coming for you. We're standing up for you.
This is the best they have to offer.
We're fighting on. We're not going down silent.
We're not going down silent. She's got a point.
Victory, my friends, is clear. It's now. And I'm not waiting 4 years. I'm waiting 2 until a speaker by the name of Hakeem Jeffries comes to bring us.
Hakeem Jeffries, now known better as Dollar Store Obama, Timu Obama, Speaker Sombrero, Hakeem Jeffries.
Some rest. Come on, ladies. It's up to us. We saved this democracy before.
It's like every check-in counter at a Spirit Airlines you've ever seen.
Save it now. Let's go.
Okay. Oh, dear Lord. So let's take a look at the actual indictment. Eastern District Court, Eastern District of Virginia. Before I even jump into this, it's worth noting the Eastern District of Virginia is a very powerful district for prosecutions, and it's loaded to the gills with progressive fascist prosecutors embedded in the system. And of course, they protect their own tribe. So the prosecutor who'd been put in charge of the James Covey case, he was just slow walking the case until the statute of limitations was going to expire. And at the last minute, just a few days before that happened, Trump realized what was going on. The Trump administration realized what was going on, fired that guy, put the new prosecutor, Lindy Hallison, something like that, a woman who used to be Trump's personal attorney, appointed her, and she brought the indictment against Comey. The same is true here. There was a woman in the office, a prosecutor, progressive fascist prosecutor, who was doing the same thing, was slow walking the investigation of Letitia James simply to walk out the clock. This was revealed. She got fired, and the same woman that Trump had appointed for Comey was put in charge of this case and brought this indictment against Letitia James. So let's take a look at this particular indictment against Letitia James. Letitia James, resident of Brooklyn. No sleep till Brooklyn. And the borrower on a Fannie Mae government-backed mortgage loan for a property at 3121 Perone Avenue. OVM Financial was a mortgage lending business in Virginia. They are a technical financial institution. Fannie Mae, federally chartered corporation that purchases and guarantees mortgages. That's the federal government tie-in there. So unlike with Trump, Trump's financing, by the way, for the case that Letitia James brought against him, where she claimed mortgage fraud, were all private parties. They were not government-backed parties. Also, they all claimed that they were not defrauded. All the banks who lent Trump money, they claimed they were not defrauded. The claim of fraud against Trump by Letitia James was that it wasn't really he, it was one of course, Trump doesn't fill out his own mortgage documents. One of Trump's subordinates picked the wrong choice on a pull-down menu. That was the error. And she claimed that was mortgage fraud that was good enough for $500 million worth of fines. Of course, all those fines were thrown out on appeal. The fines now are $0.0. And all the private banks who loaned Trump that money said, listen, whatever Trump may have said on his application, we did not rely on his representations of the value of the property. We did our own assessment, our own valuation of the property, and that's what we relied on. Also, we got paid every dollar, principal and interest we were owed. There was no fraud. That was a Trump case. Here we have a government tie-in, which is part of what makes this a criminal prosecution instead of the mere civil case that was brought against Trump by Letitia James. James, a sole borrower, purchased a 3-bedroom, 1-bathroom property, the Perone property, for approximately $137,000 with a mortgage of $109,000. Loan originated with OVM, undersigned Second Home Rider, which required James as a sole borrower to occupy and use the property as her secondary residence and prohibited its time sharing or shared ownership, and prohibited her from renting out the property or giving any other person control of the property. Why do mortgage lenders put these conditions in? Because they know from long experience that the risk of a mortgage on a property occupied by a non-owner is much higher than a property occupied by an owner. You can get a mortgage on a non-owner occupied property, a property you intend to rent. But because it's higher risk, it comes with higher interest rates, it comes with higher insurance payments, and hence the incentive to lie, the incentive to falsely claim that you will be occupying the property, that you will not be renting it, because that secures you a lower interest rate, lower insurance costs. Here, we're only really worried about the interest rate. Despite these representations, the Perone property was not occupied or used by James as a second residence, but instead was used as a rental property, renting to a family of 3. This misrepresentation allowed James to obtain favorable loan terms not available for investment properties, including an interest rate of 3%, avoiding a higher rate of almost a point higher, resulting in approximately $18,000 in rate savings over the life of the loan, a seller credit of approximately $3,300, for a total ill-gotten gains of $19,000, I'll call it. I'll round up that last bit. Letitia James' universal property application for homeowners insurance also indicates owner-occupied non-seasonal use. So it's not a vacation home. It's not a rental property on the insurance form. So that's insurance fraud as well. Letitia James also filed tax forms. This is all making it a lot harder to claim it was some kind of mistake, isn't it? When you lied at the closing, claiming that only you were going to live there, you were not going to rent it out. When you lied on the insurance application, when you lied in your tax returns, it's not beginning to look like an innocent error happened. It's beginning to look like a pattern and practice of fraud. Letitia James filed Schedule E tax forms under penalty of perjury, treating the Perone property as a rental. Here she claimed it as rental property. I guess she didn't want to lie to the IRS. Reporting zero personal use. So we have the inherent inconsistency there now between her various documents. Thousands of dollars in rents received. I bet the government's going to try to seize that money, by the way. And claiming deductions for expenses relating to the property, which you couldn't do if it was your own home, but you can as a business property, as a rental property. The loan was acquired by another bank, as often happens with mortgages, exposing that second bank to fraudulent risks associated with the misrepresented loans. All of this occurred in the Eastern District of Virginia for court purposes. Count 1, bank fraud, 1344. Let's take a look at 1344. Let's take a look. Let's try that again. What does 1344 have to tell us? 18 U.S.C. 1344, bank fraud. Whoever knowingly executes or attempts to execute a scheme or artifice to defraud a financial institution or to obtain any of the monies, funds, credits, assets, securities, or other property owned or under the custody of a financial institution by means of false or fraudulent pretenses, representations, or promises shall be fined not more than $1 million. She's looking at $1 million fine over this $130,000 property and imprisoned for not more than 30 years. This is a 30-year felony, my friends. Hear that, Letitia? All you were trying to do to Trump was bankrupt him and his family. Now you're looking at 30 years in prison, effectively the rest of her life. How old is she now? She's got to be in her 50s, right? 60s. She's 66. So she's looking at being in a federal prison until she's 96 years old, which doesn't seem likely. That's a bad bet, Letitia. I would suggest you chose poorly. You chose poorly. All right, let's get this back up. So that's count one here. Bank fraud, 18 U.S.C. 1344. The allegation of the prior paragraphs are incorporated from on or about August 7th, 2020 through at least January 2024 in the Eastern District of Virginia. Defendant Letitia James did knowingly attempt to execute a scheme and artifice to defraud these banks, financial institutions to obtain monies, funds, credits by means of false, fraudulent pretenses, representations, and promises. The scheme involved falsely representing the prone property as a secondary primary residence to obtain favorable mortgage terms, while actually using it as an investment property with no intended or actual personal occupancy or use by her. Count two, false statements. False statements to a financial institute. Let's take a look. That's 18 U.S.C. 1014. Let's take a look at that one. Loan and credit applications generally. Renewals and discounts, crop insurance. All right, whoever knowingly makes any false statement or report for the purpose of influencing Fannie Mae, the government backing of the mortgage here, let's see, shall be fined no more than $1 million and imprisoned not more than 30 years. So it's another $1 million, 30-year federal felony provision of the law. Oh, Letitia. From on about July 28th, whoops, I got to switch over. Hold on. So count two, violation of 18 U.S.C. 1014 from about July 2020 to August 2020 in the Eastern District of Virginia. Letitia James did knowingly make and cause to be made false statements and reports for influencing the action of the banks, Fannie Mae-backed lenders, on an application for a loan, and that James represented and affirmed in her mortgage application and related documents that the prone property would be used as a secondary personal residence, when in truth and fact, as James then knew, the property was intended to be used as an investment property with no intended or actual occupancy by her. Forfeiture. Let's see what they're going to try to seize here. Pursuant to the Federal Rules of Criminal Procedure, Letitia James shall forfeit to the United States any property constituting or derived from or proceeds obtained directly or indirectly as such a violation, including but not limited to the money judgment in the amount of $18,933, which suggests to me that they could seize the property, the house in question. And signed by Lindsay Halligan. That's the lawyer that Trump put in place. Lindsay Halligan, because the resident progressive fascist Department of Justice folks were not interested in prosecuting Comey or Letitia James, and so had to be replaced.